So, I am in Big Trees State Park in Calaveras County. I've gone from the North Coast to the Big Trees. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's been a rough start to 2026. I've lost a couple of very important people. One to cancer, one to a car accident, and just the state of the world can be a little stressful. So, when I'm feeling the stress of the world, I feel like I have to go home. And this is home. It's where I started my life and love of the woods. My dad was a state park ranger here in the 60s, and we lived in state park housing. We had a cat, and quite often I would follow the cat into the woods, much to my mother's chagrin, and on occasion I would follow the cat deep into the woods. She'd have to call the park rangers. They'd do a search. They couldn't find me until I'd come strolling back with my bare feet, following the cat back home. I never felt afraid, even though back then there were much more black bears than there are now these days. But I never felt afraid. Of course, you don't when you're 2. You don't know about all the dangers of the world. And the forest was my home. So when I feel the weight of the world, this is where I come. I go home. And, it could be any forest. It could be any trail. This is where I feel most at peace, is when I'm hiking and I'm out in the wilderness. Actually, very lucky to be here today because this is mid-January. And normally, mid-January, this place would be covered in snow. There are small patches, and I'll show you, but certainly not a lot of snow. This is it. tree right behind this sign, and I'll read you what this says so that you don't have to pause this. It says, "The tree that stands before you is a symbol of greed and thoughtlessness. In 1854, the mother of the forest, so named for her beauty and size, was stripped of her bark. Promoters schemed to ship the bark strips back east for reassembly at exhibitions in New York City and London. Once there, the tree's outer trunk was displayed to the fascination of paying crowds that numbered in the thousands. Look closely, and you can still see where 8-foot sections were peeled away from the living tree. A crew of men worked at the tree's systematic destruction for 90 days. That is this tree here. Stripped of its bark. And if you know trees, you understand that bark is like the skin of the tree. It's protector. So this used to be the famous walk-through tree, and I remember this tree. I forgot that it was right here. So the sign actually says, so you don't have to stop it and read it, "It is a regrettable fact that most iconic trees are harmed by human action. The former owners of the North Grove hollowed out the base of this tree to compete with similar tourist attractions in the 1880s. They chose the Pioneer's Cabin tree because the base was extremely wide and had a large fire scar. Visitors used to walk and even drive through the tunnel they created. This fallen tree still plays an important role in the ecosystem by providing habitat for wildlife and nutrients for other plants." So this was the base, there's the roots, and this was the part in which people would walk through. Okay, sorry, I'm out of breath. I just came up the hill. So I stood at this point once before, and I took the Grove Overlook Trail, which took me over the Grove and then down and through the Grove. So I came back up to this point to see the scenic overlook,